to invite Mr.R. Srinivasan. He's the co-founder of Redington. It's a 5.5 billion USD company, a supply chain solution company operating in India, Middle East, Africa, and Turkey. The company is listed in the National Stock Exchange in India. Prior to starting Redington in Singapore, he spent 3 years in Indonesia with a leading textile company in the years 1978 to 1981. So Srinivasan's experience also includes a number of years with Reader's Digest and the Coca-Cola Corporation in India. So Srinivasan holds an electrical engineering degree from Madras University, PSG. Then it was known as Madras. He's from the 1994 batch, production engineer, and later he worked with Crompton Greaves, and then he worked for a company in Oman, and currently he runs a company called Car Technologies. He's the founder and CEO chairman of Car Technologies, and it's a $50 million company, and yeah, we welcome you, Maran, on the board.
Thank you, Ratna.
Thanks.
Can I start with a few words? Yeah, no, I'm good with this mic. Okay, sure.
Good evening to all of you. Ratna introducing was a bit hilarious for me because he's the co-founder of the company which I'm the CEO, so all of you know that. I take great pleasure in welcoming Mr. Srinivasan for today's session. I think Ratna's introduction wouldn't do entire justice for the person of stature as Mr. Srinivasan is. Probably he is one of the very few handful of the people who has created a $1 billion industry from PSG. Today we all call it as unicorn. Any company which becomes a $1 billion revenue or a valuation is called as a unicorn. So in those days, there was no such specific names given called as unicorn. But Mr. Srinivasan had the vision and the audacity to go about it and create such a company of large stature. So it is it's really a very good privilege for all of us to be able to hear his words of wisdom and his life journey. And that's what I intend to bring it out. But before we go deeper, I think Mr. Srinivasan wanted to address the audience with few words. So.
Thank you for having me here. Actually, talking here after listening to Mr. Annadurai or Mr. Venugopal, I'm very humbled, the kinds of things they have done. Najima sonnapona na vyabari. I'm not a technologist like Mr. Venugopal or Annadurai. Also, I have the privilege of being the senior most alumni in this gathering. I don't know if there's anyone from 67 batch or before. Good.
62 batch.
Very good.
You never cease to amaze you, no?
Yes. Very good. 62 batch, I knew K.L. Balasubramaniam. I don't know if it's your batchmate. He was in Canada and joined some Swamiji and so on and so forth. He's no more now. So that was the final year batch when I joined in 62. So that's one name I can remember. Good. I'm happy to see people beyond 67. Just a few words about the alumni before I talk about a session which Maran has organized. This is like coffee with Karan, you know. Yeah. Excepting at 8:15, it's not coffee, it's something else, I guess. So it's a good format. For an alumni, I run SSN Engineering College. I also sit on the board of Srinivasan University. When I'm wearing my 50th year reunion T-shirt. For our 50th year reunion, out of a class of 100, we were able to get 60 classmates of ours come down to Coimbatore. So when you compare that with 3,000 alumni in Chennai, I think we don't have enough numbers here. We need to do something more or something to, this itself is a great thing. I'm not for a moment denying it. But after 50 years, if we can get 60 people, Professor Radhakrishnan would have seen it in Coimbatore, and we had a rollicking time. Yeah. We screened the movie that we saw in '62 in 2017 in the same theater, and 60 of us went and saw the movie. You know? The movie was Sarvar Sundaram. Actually, we wanted to get Ballet Pandya, but the producer of Ballet Pandya was absent. We don't know who it was, and without getting IP clearance, copyright clearance, we didn't want to show any movie which will violate any of the copyrights. So the Sarvar Sundaram person gave us a freedom to go and show it. So it was great fun. We also had people who were playback singers of that time come and sing in Coimbatore, and we created an environment which resembled 1967. You know, so I'm just giving you some of these tips in terms of how to make the alumni a little more energetic and a little more fun thing to have. The second point I noticed is we have a range of alumni, people who have passed out in '53 and we have 2016. Our interests would be very different. The 2011, 2016 students will want to network to see where they can get their next job. Where is the opportunity? The 1953-62 would be looking at how to get admission for my grandson in SSN. You know, so this networking kind of becomes a little complicated, and some topics would be about health on one side, what we should eat and what we shouldn't be eating at this age. And the newer graduates will say, let's have a good time and forget about all this and so on. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge to try and have a gathering like this. So I guess we have to use some imagination. Sure. One last point before we get on to the conversation. In SSN, we have a fixed day in the year when the alumni meets. First Saturday of January. You can close your eyes, you can show up at SSN campus, and you'll have 1,000 to 1,400 alumni having fun in the campus, sponsored by the college.
Wow.
Yeah. So we chose the first Saturday of January because lots of alumni from US, they normally come down to India during December, Christmas holidays, and so on. And they can close their eyes, they can walk in at 7 o'clock in the evening to the campus, and there will be an alumni reunion, fully organized by the alumni. The college gives them the space and so on. So with the founder of SSN being an ex-PSG Tech student, without his permission, I'm sure I can extend an invitation to all of you, provided you bring 1,000 alumni of PSG Tech. Yeah. Of the Chennai chapter, I will host you at SSN campus.
Whoa.
I will also give you one added thing. I will get Mr. Shiv Nadar to come and talk to you. But I need a crowd of 1,000 because our auditorium can take 1,000 people.
Ratna, he has thrown the gauntlet, Ratna. Now it's up to you.
Talking about Mr. Venugopal, the company that I founded did some supply chain for the DRDOs. When Mr. B.S. Arunachalam came, India was on the banned list of supercomputers. The only country that was prepared to talk to us was Japan. I set up a meeting for him with the NEC to be able to go and get the talk in terms of the supercomputer, which was very much required to do the kind of work that was being done. And on the light LCA. Yeah, I used to work with Santanam Sati in the yes. So I knew all of them quite well, and there is a company which we helped set up in Singapore, which sourced all your components to do whatever you had to do. So Sorry, I took this time.
Super, sir. No, you have thrown the challenge to us, especially to Ratna and also the new executive member councils who have taken over today. They have a tenure of next 3 years. So I think this new team would be able to host this grand event. The grand event of 1,000 people from Chennai in SSN, hosted by him and addressed by Mr. Shiv Nadar. What more can you ask for? So, thank you, sir. Thank you for that wonderful offer. Date
To get 60 people to come, it took us 3.5 months to locate them and prepare and get it done. I'm not sure you will be able to get 1,000 numbers by Jan 2018.
Location is already done. Location is done. Have the numbers.
Good. And the location can take that numbers. So it's not like, it's not a hotel, it's an open air, and it's a good time.
So we have about 5,500 Chennai chapter, not with us, totally.
Yeah, that's what I heard you say. Yeah.
3,500 emails are available with us. For what we are sending the messages.
So you fix the date, let me know.
Super. So we are starting with a very good cheerful note. So I'm glad that the note has been set for a good understanding of what the personality Mr. Srinivasan is all about. So before we go deeper into his life journey, I would like to ask with you, sir. You have been a very, very fun-loving person is what I understand. The way you people have went about organizing the 50th Golden Jubilee celebrations, the fun element was very well understood by all of us. The way you have chosen to get Sarvasundaram screened. So how was your college days, sir? How was your college days? Was it very sober or was it fun-filled? How exciting was it? We had a wonderful college time. How was yours?
Ours was great. In those days, one didn't look at career when you joined the campus. These days, when kids are joining, they are thinking in terms of where will I work, which university should I go to in the USA, how to get a good recommendation letter from my professor. None of this ever bothered us. It was a smaller group. We had only 100 in all the three major disciplines. Totally was a class of 100. Every Saturday, every Sunday, sure enough, we were out into the city watching all the movies in town. I can even remember Rainbow Theatre, the Chinese restaurant next to it, Central Theatre.
Central is not going to do.
No, there is a Central Theatre. Now the name may have changed. Those days it was the first theatre where they had the 70 mm. And then they showed, the first movie that they showed there was Cleopatra. So, so it was fun. Eating out, Lucky Cafe, if the 50s and the early 60s people would know, catch the last bus from Uplipalayam to go to,
Same problem. Still
to
today
go
the
to the
same problem.
campus. Okay. Yeah, not so much. Okay. And we were very sports loving. We had the best cricket team at that time. We won Bertram tournament quite a few times. City versus district, which was a very famous cricket match, invariably the districts won. In the 62 batch, if you know K.L. Balu's brother, K.S. Vaidyanathan used to lead the districts. And we had P.C. Shekhar, who used to lead the city, but who was from Salem, but who used to study in Loyola College. So there were lots of sports. Incidentally, we studied.
Sir, இப்போ நிறைய பேருக்கு ஞாபகம் இருக்கிற தியேட்டர் வந்து மணிஸ் தான் இருக்கும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். Also, I think there were a lot of compound jumping incidents, I think. How many of you had those kind of incidents, Sarila? Because there was a restriction of 10 o'clock which came later in the PSG. Post 10 p.m., I think nobody could enter the hostel. So there was a lot of compound jumping incidents which had to happen.
Okay,
So,
but I don't think it was so bad then. We had a warden called, I think I didn't see him this time, called Subbu, Dr. Subramaniam. When he had just joined, he was the warden then, and he was by and large a relaxed person, So
we were not that fortunate.
yeah. So, but it was a fun time, and we made great relationships with our classmates. This is one of the biggest advantages of being in the hostel, and some of your lifelong partnerships are formed in college. They also become your business partners. With more and more women studying in engineering colleges, 45% of the students in SSN are women these days. So some of them also, many of them make lifelong partners. So you have many opportunities which we didn't have. So our students used to walk around Nirmala College those days, looking for some
Lifelong partners.
lifelong partners, I guess.
Very interesting, sir. Very interesting.
No,
Even more notorious. Thank you very much for walking through your those college days. I think college days is always very, very memorable and very nostalgic for us to any day go through and walk through. I think everybody's college, as you clearly said, the hostel mates or the college mates, or I usually call them as the sin mates. So are the ones who become your foundation for the future.
or partners in crime. As
Partners in crime.
Today what happens is I'm mentoring some of my classmates' children who are, I live in Singapore, so I'm mentoring some of my partners' children who are living in Singapore. So every weekend they call me and I buy them lunch, dinner, and some of their challenges in life. The wife is working with PeopleSoft, husband is working with some other software company, children are there there are a whole host of issues. So since we were so close in college, we are prepared to spend some time looking after their children in our place.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for walking us through those college memories. I think now we also want to understand from you, which is the most important part of your whole life on the journey, which is your entrepreneurial journey. Now, generally, from a middle class background, it is taken for granted that you go and look for a job. Now, to cross that chasm, to cross that barrier of from a professional to an entrepreneur, in my opinion, it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to do that and make the jump happen. Now, could you share some of your experiences of what propelled you to do it, or what made you take that jump?
Certainly, I will. Before I start on that, I had a Marwadi friend who used to work for Birlas, and he was quitting his job as chief finance officer and getting on to doing some business. So I asked him, his name was Mr. Dalan. I don't know how many of you know Hindi, but I said, Dalan ji, आप तो अच्छा नौकरी छोड़कर जा रहे हैं और बिरला जी से और खुद का कुछ बिजनेस चालू कर रहे हैं. So he told me, नौकरी से और क्या बुरा हो सकता है? So what can be worse than working for someone? So so this is the mentality of one community for them. And then when I asked him, you're going to Bombay, you're going to start something. And those days, getting housing in Bombay was very difficult because of rent control and so on and so forth. No one rented the house. So I asked him, do you have enough capital? You're going to buy the house? Or he says, आप जैसे South Indian हैं जो अच्छे मेहमान हैं, so you will rent your house to me and I'm going to put my money in the business. So this is the attitude of that community. But the reason I left India and settled in Singapore about 40 years ago, at that time, the taxation in India was very high. It was about 80-85% when you add all that. And you could hardly save any money even to buy a house or a flat. And there's no flat those days. And there were no NBFCs or there were no housing finance companies. The only thing you could use to buy a house was to take an LIC policy and then take a loan from the LIC policy, which they gave you only if you owned the land. So you were in a catch-22 situation. So I told myself, this is not going to work. So I said, let me leave India and go out and then save something. And I went out saying, I'll save ₹1,00,000, buy a house and come back. That's 40 years ago, and I'm still out there running a global business. The other reason which pushed me into an entrepreneurial state was I met a Sindhi gentleman with whom I was working on some assignments. And he gave a challenge and said, South Indians are only good for working for someone. You guys can never start anything. And so I said, okay, let me take the challenge. And I must say, I never looked back.
Wow. Super. That's for sure. You never looked back, sir. And that stereotype, I think, still prevails, isn't it? That South Indians are good for only professional class and they can never become the entrepreneurs. So that stereotype is being slowly broken in this new gen, because I think in the startup ecosystem today, South dominates the nation. Today, globally, we are the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, and out of which 75% is from the South. Just 2 states, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. So that is the kind of dominance we have created now.
What has changed between then and now? At that time, business was capital starved, but plenty of talent. Today, capital is awash in the world. it is talent that is in short supply. So the whole ecosystem has completely changed. This is one major thing which has happened. The other thing which has happened is the industrial revolution, which I call 2.0, which is the entire IT industrial revolution which has happened, which did not require too much of machinery or capital in terms of machinery, and it was human talent and human brains, of which people in the South are endowed very well. So the whole ecosystem has changed. I don't know if how many of you have seen this WhatsApp message I got, Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Have you seen that? So there you are to show the 3 largest South Indian entrepreneurs or people who are running global companies.
Yes, today I think the rules have been rewritten. The rules have changed actually, because the intellectual capital can become the true capital for creating large enterprises.
Absolutely.
So that change is really happening. Sir, moving away from your starting point of the entrepreneurial journey, I'd like to also understand, see, anything if you are pursuing, even if you're in a professional career, even if you're in an entrepreneurial journey or in a professional career, if you want to make something of significance, if you want to grow something of significance, if you want to reach somewhere of significance, it always takes relentless pursuit to get there. Now, along the way, when you aggressively travel there, is there a prioritization loss towards your other things in life? For example, your family, your friendship, your other circle, other important things or relatives. So how does one balance, and how do you go about balancing it? Is it possible at all to be successful in all the fronts? Can a great entrepreneur be a great family man also?
Actually, it's a difficult question to answer, but when you are pursuing something with passion, then you're not doing a job. And your passion is so infectious that your family becomes a part of that passion. Jocularly in Redington, when we gave employee stock option, I suggested that the stock option should be given to the wives, so that they will then push their husbands, don't come home, stock is not doing well, why don't you work hard, you know?
So that is partners in crime. Partners in crime. Make them.
So this question of their saying, you're hardly coming home, all the time you're in the office, so that gets taken away completely. And but the men folk objected violently to give away the stock options to the wives. But yes, to answer your question, you will mostly you forsake something to pursue your passion. It is not without its cost. This is not only in business. I'm sure when Mr. Venugopal was pursuing his mission, it must have come at not some cost, but at great cost to many things that are important to a person. I always say we are an employee, or we are a businessman, we are a son to someone, we are a husband or a spouse to someone, we are a father to our children, we are wearing many hats, and we need to perform all those roles quite fairly, not one at the cost of the other, though there can be a time mismatch, but you need to make up very quickly.
Well, you very nicely put it, sir, but I think that is one thing which most of the professionals or the career pursuit people tend to ignore, doing justice to all the hats. So that is something, it's a fine balance, isn't it? It's a very fine balance.
It's a fine balance. It will be a mismatch when you are in a startup. You will not be spending time with your family or other things, or you may not even be focusing on your health, but you cannot be in a startup mode for the rest of your life. Yeah, at some time you got to grow up. And at that time, I think you need to make up for what you have lost in the interim.
True. Thank you for that. I would like to understand a little bit more on the kind of the fighting spirit that you would have put in place in your journey. Now, Redington is a company, just to give an indication for people, Redington is a company which last year achieved a turnover of 42,000 crores. So I think people did not get that when Ratna said it was a 5.5 billion or a $6 billion enterprise. When we said 42,000 crores, now I think it hits all of you. And to just give a comparison, HCL was 50,000 crores or something like that?
Yeah.
HCL was 49,000 crores last year. So pretty much very close to each other in sense. He serves as, he's the founder chairman of Redington, and he's the he serves in the board of director of HCL along with Mr. Srinivasan. So in that sense, if you look together, I think he's part of a 100,000 crore kind of an enterprise. So it's indeed a great privilege to understand his viewpoints.
I must only correct here. We do 44,000 crores with a 1.5% margin. He does 50,000 crores at 21% margin. So we are a little different, you know.
Well,
No. Certainly not.
the devil is in the detail, isn't it? Well, no wonder that Mr. Srinivasan is the richest Tamil person is living. So, coming back to what I wanted to ask is, so in the process of building such an enterprise called Redington, with such a monstrous company called as Redington, I'm sure you would have taken on lots of fights with giants like Ingram Micro. Ingram Micro is also in the same field, and it's a multi-billion-dollar company. It's a global company. So I'm sure along the process you would have had tough fights with biggies, with big people, with deep pockets, with a lot of connections and lots of might. So how did you handle those fights? How did you handle those? How did you gain your market share fighting the biggies?
I think Mr. Venugopal gave some answers to that when the Western world denied us technology. He had his own way of producing whatever India needed. First is it's in the mindset. We always feel multinationals are better than local companies. We have proved beyond doubt that local companies, if focused and if they have adequate capital, and then they are fighting for the long term. Unfortunately, our local businessmen, if you are short-sighted and you want to make a quick buck, then I don't think you can take on the multinationals. But if you have a longer vision and you want to develop an institution, we have the advantage of being a local, and it's a shame if someone else from outside comes and beats us in our market. So we thought that the best way is to go and give him heat in his market, and that's why we went global. And we are really beating him in all the markets where we are. So there isn't any mystic about a multinational taking them on and so on. It's only a question of if you have adequate capital and you're focused long term, I think it's not a big. Look, what's the big deal in making soap? I don't know why we can't beat Hindustan Lever.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a big technology in making soap. Finally, you know. So
Or a Coke, like a Bovento.
no, in fact, Coke has lost out. I used to work for Coke, so I know them. They now want to build Thumbs Up as a billion-dollar brand, and Thumbs Up is a local brand. So in many consumer products, I hate to say this, but they will not accept the multinationals. There isn't any rocket science in terms of technology in making these things. It's a question of sustaining the brand and looking at it long term. So I guess you need to fight and get across.
True, sir. I think that today there is more and more such fights are being taken. There is, as you said clearly, the Patanjali is just one example.
Yes.
And also the Bovento, the old brand, which almost went into oblivion, is not coming back with a big fight towards the Coke and the Pepsis of this world.
Why take the IT services?
Yeah, IT services.
The IBM Global Services or Accenture or Capgemini, I think they're all being given a run for their lives by the Indian IOPs.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we can do it.
True,
And even those companies are being run by the Indians. The only name is Accenture and IBM Global Services, but it's completely manned and run and led by Indians.
Absolutely, true. And then today there is a company called Zoho, which is coming out of Chennai,
Yes.
and which is taking on the multinationals like Google and Microsoft when it comes to various small office products. So the story is being rewritten in many ways. I think you have been pioneers in one of those who showed the way. Thank you, sir. I would like to also ask you something. In the journey that you pursue, there are many things which can go wrong. Few may be self-inflicted, few may be external forces inflicting pain on you. The life decisions. Some decisions that you take may be forced by yourself, or some decisions which are forced by the external world. Now, such situations can really push you off the balance and throw you deep down in trouble. So you may feel very low. Now, what is important is, whether you are a professional or an entrepreneur or a normal person, you need to be able to come out of those lows. And have you ever faced such low in life? And how have you come out of it, sir? And what it has turned out to be for you?
I can only recollect two incidents. They were not life-threatening, otherwise I wouldn't be here. One was when we went into the Middle East in terms of creating a business out there. Middle East has a peculiar law which allows agreements in supply chain to be done only with the locals. And if the local has an agency agreement, no other company can import those products or deal with those products. We were partners of HP, and HP was a little tired of their local agent in Dubai. And they told us, you import the goods and you distribute, you support, you service the goods, which we did. The original agent of HP, you may all know a person called Bukhari, who used to run the cricket match between India and Pakistan in Sharjah. So he was well known in the cricketing circles and a very influential sheikh there. He sued us and threatened that I will make sure that you are pushed out of the entire Middle East. Courts are, in each country, courts are of one kind. I mean, we are no exception either. So in Dubai, we had to fight the cases. Most of the lawyers told us that your chances are very slim fighting a local, and when they have a proper written agreement. It took us 2.5 years, at which time, if the court decision had gone against us, our business in the Middle East would have had to be closed. But we decided that if we want to be in the Middle East, we need to go through this process and fight till the finish. We went up to the Supreme Court in Dubai and we won the case. And today, our business in the Middle East is about $2 billion. And that's how the Saudi Arabia, the Turkey, the Kuwaits, and the Omans. So there are times when you have to stand up and fight if you want to be in the business. And that was a close call for us because we would have missed a very large part of our market if we had not continued there. So this was one of those close calls. But during those 2.5 years, when we were still doing the business, our employees were nervous. Are we going to continue? Are we going to win? Are we going to lose? Are we going to shut down? So there was a low in the company.
Pressure.
The other thing, of course, was India, and all of us must have gone through it sometime. This was an unfair income tax notice on the company in Chennai for about 250 crores of tax, which would have put us into a major quandary, which was totally unfair on the part of the income tax department. Their logic here was, sir, we are short of target. You are a 30,000 crore company, so you must be you must have to pay so and so, so and so.
So this is called tax terrorism that people talk about.
At that time, yes. And they said, no, you pay now, you pay 50% and go on an appeal. Now, you can't pay hundreds of crores in terms of just because someone is saying so. So we fought this over 3 years, spent an enormous amount of energy. The best lawyers from Bombay were brought into Chennai, and we won the case. But the rule is you can win the case at the income tax tribunal, but the department, since it's such a large amount, they will not keep quiet. They will go to the High Court, first High Court, and appeal, because it is automatic that the income tax department must go on an appeal. Now, if they go on an appeal, we will have to provide for that liability. Plus, if you lose in the High Court, interest will be charged from the date the first time they sent you a notice, which is over 2.5 years. And if you add a 12% on 200 crores, it's one hell of a lot of money. So what do we do? So there was a Chief Justice in India called Justice Kapadia, a very well-known tax judge. He retired as the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. I went to him and took an opinion to state that the judgment of the income tax tribunal is quite correct. And he stopped there. Then I sent this to the current finance minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, and said, your most eminent Chief Justice, who's also a tax lawyer, has given an opinion that the ruling of the income tax tribunal is valid. So why don't you ask the income tax department either to go on appeal now or not to go on an appeal, but not to keep it pending so that the interest meter is running all the time. The then Economic Affairs Secretary, Mr. Shaktikant Das, who belonged to the Tamil Nadu cadre, he wrote to the Chief Commissioner of Income Tax saying, he can't say don't go or go. So he just said, I'm enclosing the opinion of the Chief Justice of India, and I'm sure you will take suitable action basis that opinion. As of today, the Income Tax Department has neither gone on an appeal, nor have they said the case is closed. So we are still open.
So our tax regime remains the tax regime.
So you face these kinds of things, which happens, and you have to learn to live with these things.
Yeah. So sometimes such the missiles, such astras, which come from the income tax department can be really can be life-threatening, pretty close to life-threatening.
To the company.
To the company.
For
yes.
sure, for sure.
So yes, thank you, sir, for going there. I also would like to ask you on one more thing, which is called as the purpose. Now, in my in my history of this business journey, I've heard about these words called as the vision, the mission, the passion, and all these repeatedly hundreds of times on a multiple context. And the latest fad, I would say, is called as the purpose. They say you need to have a purpose for whatever you're doing, whether you're a professional or you're an entrepreneur or you're whoever you are. What is your purpose? Now the millennials are the ones who are born after the 1990s, and they are called as the digital natives. And they are continuously being asked the question of what is your purpose? And they, before joining a company, ask, what is your purpose of the company? So sometimes you feel challenged. எல்லாரும் இந்த சம்பளம் தான் கேட்பாங்க. இப்போ வந்தோடனே உன் purpose என்னன்னு கேட்குறாங்க. So this seems to be kind of a changing philosophy in this world. So what is purpose? Can purpose be only a financial pursuit? Or is it something beyond the financial pursuit? Or should it be only a social pursuit? So what would you say a purpose is?
See, many people have asked me to come and talk to them about entrepreneurship and so on. But many of the youngsters' view of entrepreneurship or to get into business seems to be to make a lot of money. I don't think they have a purpose beyond saying I want to. They think that being in business or being an entrepreneur is to make a lot of money. My own view is that you have to be passionate about some activity or whatever you have decided to do, and the money is a byproduct. The only way you can make money is to run a mint next to the Reserve Bank of India. That's the only way you can make money. Otherwise, you will have to do something, fill some need. In my case, the time I started Redington, it was in 1981-82, and most of my classmates had a severe problem of sourcing electronic goods, which I'm sure DRDO and others had, globally. And since I was based in Singapore, they asked me to source goods for them globally, Taiwan, Japan, US, and so on. And there was a need that needed to be filled so that they could continue the manufacturing of their products. And all of them were entrepreneurs. I have dealt with everyone in the computer field in India. They were my customers. And since all of them were starting from ground zero, I gave them a fairly large amount of credit for them to build their business. And incidentally, sir, there is a company in Chennai which supplies a lot of material for the BrahMos thing called data dynamics or data patterns. We finance them. We finance them because Rangarajan. We finance them because DRDL gives all their orders only in January, and they bunch it together because their budget gets over by March. And this poor fellow will have to buy all the materials prior to that and then supply and then wait for another 6 months for the DRDO to pay him. So this company has a real need for someone to finance him. And for 2 years, we helped him in terms of getting his act together. We also found him a private equity investor who has joined him, and I think he is out of the financial turmoil he was. So the point I'm making is there has to be a need, and you need to be able to fulfill that need, be it financially, be it product-wise, being knowledge-wise. For many companies, we have given them a lot of knowledge. We have done joint ventures for many companies in India. So there has to be a need. And that, I think, is the purpose of being in business. Now, the NGO and the other things is very different. Talking of purpose, we run SSN Engineering College, as a not-for-profit. The only admission is basis marks. There is absolutely no capitation fee. I'm sure you would have heard it, I don't have to say that. On the contrary, we give 4.5 crores worth of scholarships every year. So if a student, we are, while selecting, we are blind to the financial requirements. If a person gets admission, he or she will not go home because she is not able to pay for the fees or hostel. Yes? So now the purpose there is very different from the purpose of running a business. I must tell you a story here. When Mr. Dayanidhi Maran was the IT minister, he bumped into, I'm just using the names, not with any malice. He bumped into Mr. Vishwanathan of VIT and told him, நீங்க இவ்வளோ ஃபீஸ் வாங்குறீங்களே, CSSN, they are doing it, no capitation, no this, no that, and so on. But it is to the credit of Mr. Vishwanathan, he gave a very nice answer. He said, sir, Mr. Nadar computer ஃப்ரீயாக கொடுக்க சொல்லுங்க, நான் எஜுகேஷனை ஃப்ரீயாக கொடுக்குறேன், எஜுகேஷன் என்னுடைய பிஸ்னஸ். I thought it was a fantastic answer. So education has become a business. So for him, then he has a purpose. The purpose of SRM or the purpose of VIT or the purpose of Satyabama is different than the purpose of SSM.
It's a beautiful answer, sir. Beautiful. In other words, I think there is no charity in business, but business should in the end be a charity. So that is what probably I think you...
Yeah, I mean, I was just explaining, the purpose keeps changing from the thing you are used to. So you'll have to decide.
See, most of the successful businesses have always, in the end, given back to the society in a really large way. I mean, that's what the Bill Gates Foundation is also trying to do. Now, he was here in the month also.
It is of recent origin in India that businessmen have started giving in a very large basis. It's about 5-6 year phenomena. Last year, Shiv Nadar Foundation was the foundation which gave the largest amount towards philanthropy. But writing a check is the easy part. But making sure things are run properly, to run an SSN, I can tell you it's not easy. And we are not wanting anything from the government. All that we are asking them is, leave us alone. Even that, we want to build a women's hostel. We are still not able to get permission from the Mamalapuram LPA or something like that, because we are not doing the right thing. So some of these things are difficult. So more than writing a check, I would request anyone who's doing something to implement it so that the benefits flow properly. Otherwise, the money is wasted.
I understand. It's also about the execution, just not throwing the money, but executing the idea.
No, if someone comes and asks me to quickly write a check, it will take you 5 minutes.
True.
But to ensure, I mean, in fact, I was suggesting to Maran that the Chennai chapter must institute a scholarship for PSG Tech student. A poor student who's not able to pay the fees, I would request all of you, I'm happy to subscribe, to institute a scholarship from the Chennai chapter.
Awesome. But now I think that's one more ask list. True.
Yes.
Underprivileged girl students. Sure, sir.
Shivanadar is giving 16 scholarships to BSc students, that is 8 girls and 8 men students. Entire expenditure is covered by the scholarship. for every year.
Awesome. So, talking about the various facets of the business life we spoke about, the various facets of the growth, scaling, aggression, fighting, passion. So all this we talked about. Now, how important it is, how important friendship is to you. So we all know that Shiv Nadar is also one of your friends, but I'm sure what the friendship means to you. Is it only Shiv, or there are more friends in your life?
I have about 15, 20 friends who have been my friends for over 50 years.
Whoa.
And quite a few of them are billionaires as well. But these friendships are normally formed either in college or undergraduate or postgraduate. And the friendships has to be not with an agenda. Just taking the case of Shiv Nadar and me, we were roommates also in PSG Tech. We were classmates, roommates. We did our electrical engineering project together. So we have a long relationship. He's asked me many times to come as a shareholder, as a partner with him, to come and be with him. And my answer has been, we should fish in different ponds and see if we can exchange fish rather than fishing in the same pond. And this has been true with quite a few of my friends. We have helped each other. I have helped another classmate of mine from IIM to buy his company by providing him finance. And he's done very well. But the fact is, it is a mutual friendship. We can trust each other. As I jokingly tell him, someone asked me, how come you're lending so much to this person? I said, like, half pant lenda avare theriyum. So you know the character of your friends very well. And I think friendships are important, and at least to me, it has made a great difference. நீங்க எங்கூட படிக்கலையே, நான் என்ன பண்றேன்?
Good. At this moment of, at this moment of, talking about the friendship and fun and enjoyment and the roommates and all, I think it will be nice if you look at the video of the 50th reunion that Mr. Srinivasan and Shiv Nadar and all those batch members had. So, Ravi, if you can play that video.
the ability to build institutions, create institutions. He had built HCL, NIIT, Mr. Srinivasan had built Redington. So that expertise existed. And given that expertise, so institution building was one of the key things that we wanted to look at. People who are looking at this. So the focus of the foundation was in trying to build leaders. So all of institutions, and I will, as I describe them, you will see as I move forward.
But gaining the knowledge itself, you don't require a but we have to be responsible.
We'll do few things, but those few things we found the areas which are not really done by the state.
Classmates who came, they want us to organize another get-together. We said only after 5 years. So by the time we are 75, our location is Delhi, in the Shiv Nada University at Noida. And so we have told them, please be healthy, so that we can all meet in Noida. There is one particular thing which I want to share with this audience. We run, Shiv Nada Foundation runs a school called Vidya Gyan. Vidya Gyan. This is run in UP. There are 2 schools, one for 9 districts. This is meant for underprivileged rural students of UP from class 6 to class 12, 100% boarding, fully paid, teachers from Doon School, Delhi Public School, the best schools in India, the teachers are from there. And we spend 20 lakhs per kid over the 6-year period. The first batch of these students are passed out last year, and they've got admission in Brown University, in some other Wellesley College in US. This year, we have folks from Stanford and all come and want to take these students. So imagine coming from a small village, living in a hut, having 2 cows and just living there, being transported to a school, fully paid. It is better than Doon School. I've been there. And we expect some future Prime Minister to come from this cohort of school, you know. We do a similar program in SSN. We take 25 students from rural Tamil Nadu, people who have gone to government schools, and schools are not within their village. They walk 6-7 miles to go to school and come back home and then work. We pick them up. We are only able to pick about 25, and many of these villages I have not heard of. We bring them. We pay their entire stay for the 4 years in the college. We give them special communication courses before they join. For some of them, we even have to buy slippers and clothes. And at the end of the 3rd year, they beat the hell out of the city students. You know? And some of them have got great jobs. And one person has gone to New York, working for Morgan Stanley. You know what they do as soon as they get their first job? They give money to the college and said, take 1 more student. You know? And this is really transformational in that village. And our challenge is, he or she says, why don't you take more from my village? And we are not able to give that kind of attention for more than 25 people at a time. And which only shows, if you give the opportunities to the rural children, they will beat the city students. The city students have become a little lethargic.
Yeah. You shared a lot of your experiences, sir. Now, last time when I was having a conversation with Mr. Srinivasan, he mentioned that he had this gathering in PSG 5 years before the Golden Jubilee. And you know, the statement he made was, you never know for the Golden Jubilee, you know, you never know how many will turn up for the Golden Jubilee. See, it's a very humble statement. It is the complete cognizance of the true reality, and the great humility towards life is what made him make that statement. And in spite of that realization, and in spite of being cognizant of that, the lack of invincibility of the humanity, he continues to have that fun, continues to engage, and continues to stay very, very, very relevant. In fact, when I was having a conversation with Mr. Srinivasan in one of those days, he said he was advising us on what kind of technology that we should embrace to be relevant as an SAP consulting company. He was talking about investing on HANA for ourselves. So the relevance that he keeps himself for being in his role, and the way he continues to go about it, is something amazing. So I have a very fundamental question to him. There are many people, even at 35, they start looking forward towards retirement. They start looking for retirement, and they plan for retirement. They really look forward to retirement. They keep talking about retirement. Maybe that can be at 35, 45, 50, 60, I don't know. Many people talk about that retirement. So, you have never thought about that, sir?
If you stop pursuing something, you're dead. You have to pursue something. If in your earlier life or your job you are pursuing money, or in business you are pursuing money, you can pursue something else. But the intensity that life has to have meaning, it cannot be blank, it cannot be empty. In which case, you are just sitting at home waiting for the inevitable to happen. Unless you are engaged meaningfully in whichever activity. Now, for example, I'm the Vice President of the Music Academy in Chennai. So come December 15 till December 31st, there's a lot of fun. There's discussion about the canteen tiffin. There is a discussion whether T.M. Krishna will sing or won't he sing. I mean, this is a part of fun. Now, it is a serious job to organize the festival. Now, running SSN campus, the challenge I have taken is to make it sustainable. Today, we are we are deficit by 10 crores every year, because the fees is fixed by the government and we don't take capitation fee at all, and we want to provide the best education, so we are putting out of our pocket 10 crores every year. Now that is not if an institution is not operationally sustainable, then it's not sustainable over a long term. So our challenge is, or my challenge is, how to make it self-sufficient. So the first thing I jokingly told Shiv is, you change the name of the place. Otherwise, if I go and ask the TVSS and others for money, it's a Srinivasan Killa Daruvaya na kudukirde, you know. But to make it, so we are thinking that it is a community college. It is a college for the community in Tamil Nadu. It is not, John Harvard was a person who started Harvard, but we don't think as Harvard as belonging to John Harvard or his family, you know. So some of these keep you, how to make a thing self-sufficient, or how to run a good music academy program, you know. And music academy was losing money when we took over. Today it has 40 crores of fixed deposits, the only Sabha. And I have made Harvard write a case on this. Now you are pursuing something. Now this is not business, but this is what keeps me alive.
In a nutshell, the answer was no retirement. So please note. Thank you, sir. So it was a wonderful session that we had with you. We really enjoyed every bit of it, and we would like to give a standing ovation to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your journey. And thank you for the great journey that you have traveled, sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely.